Hello guys, in this video we are going to learn about variables in Java. Okay, so what are variables basically? So variables are nothing but a way of storing the data. So variables are a means for us to actually store, analyze and display the data. So what I mean by that, let's say I was told to store someone's age in my program. So uh, how will I do that? One way was to One way would be to manually enter it every time I have to use the edge. But the more efficient solution would be to just define a variable named age, and after this I can use this variable whenever I want throughout the code. Okay, so what variables allow us to do is actually store some data which we can reuse, which we can manipulate, modify and perform a lot of operations on. So there can be a lot of usage for these variables. So that is why these are very important concepts to understand, because throughout the whole course of Java we will be using a lot of variables. Okay, so let us just see first how we actually declare a variable. So the basic syntax would be something like this. So we start with, first of all, we start with declaring a data type for the variable. What data type means is, data type is nothing but it defines what defines what kind of data are we actually storing. For example, let us say for the age case only, what would be the values of age possible. So as we know, generally we use only numbers to represent age. For example, 10, 15, 30 and something like that. Okay, so if we want our data type to be our variable to be a number, we will specify a certain data type. So what are data types provided by Java? So there are several of them. So there is int, there is char, then we have string, then we have double, we have float and so on. So if we were supposed to have a variable which contains a number value, then we will use int. Okay, int allows us to store all kinds of integer value. Similarly, if we want to store certain characters, let's just say uh, there was grades, which grades ranged from starting from A to, let's just say, F, A B C D E D, A B C D E F G, and something like that. So if we had grades and we display them using characters, so we can store such alphabets in character data type. Similarly, if we had a set of characters, basically a sentence, or you can say a name of some person, a statement or something like that, if we had to store a set of characters, we can also store a set of numbers. So for such operation we can use string. And how do we identify a string? So basically Java identifies anything which is contained inside this double quote as a string. So if we write something like this, xyz abc, so this would be considered a string. Also, if I write like this would not be integer, this would actually be a string. Okay, so these double quotes identify some written statement or value as a string. Okay, so what if we wanted to store some decimal value? For example, we wanted to store 32.5. So to do so, we can use double or float. Okay, so this is what data type means. So it actually defines what kind of data are we actually storing in our variable. Okay, now let's proceed further. Now the next thing that we do is we actually give a name to the variable. This is how we'll actually recognize it, right? So if we want to store age, let's just name it age. So here I would provide the name. This would be name, and this would be data type. And after this, we can also store, this is not necessary, but if we want to, we can provide a data basically a value to this variable. For example, let me just store 15 here. Okay, so this will be value. So example would be, let me just declare integer age, and I would store 15 in this. So this is basically how we store a variable, how we declare a variable. Okay, and there can be numerous operations which can be performed on these variables. So we are going to perform some basic operations and understand how they actually work. Okay, so let me just define two variables, int x and y, and let me just give them a value 10, and let me give this value 20. Okay, so if I wanted to get their sum, one way would be to just print out x plus y. So what this plus would do, it actually calculates their sum and displays them. So this would be a direct way. This would just add and give me the result. So this would give me 30. Now another more efficient way, this is a very short program, but for a large program there might be other uses of this sum. So not only for printing purpose, but we might need the sum of these two somewhere else, and we might need their sum for several tasks. So a better way would be to store their sum in a variable so we can use it again and again. So that is why variables are very essential in any program, so we can have the reusability function. Okay, now if I do this, I can just print out sum and the answer would be the exact same. Now this sum is very, see, we have 30. Now now let us discuss other operations. Let us just perform a multiplication. So in our math classes, if we had two variables x and y and we wanted to find a product, what we did, we just wrote x y. So this xy should give me product. Let us just print and see what happens. Okay, then I will explain why it is happening. So if I print prod, let me just comment this out. So what you will see is we'll actually get an error. Okay, so it says we cannot find the symbol, which means this xy is actually considered as a variable to Java. Okay, this will not be considered as an operation. So what we need to do is we need to actually provide the multiplication operator, which in this case should be the star. Okay, now this would actually return me 200. So 20 into 10 should be 200. So we got 200. Now I'm going to write three more operations and we're going to see how they actually work. Okay, so here I'm going, first of all I'm going to write 8 divided by b. So we have xy, so I'm going to write x divided by y. Now I'm going to write two more operations. So second one I would write as y divided by x, and the third is an operator that I would like to show everyone is that it is called as modulo, and the function that it performs, I'm going to explain it after we see what the output is. Okay, so let us see what the output is. So as we can see, we have gotten 0, 2 and 10. Okay, so what is actually happening here? So as what can you say, as a generic way, if we see it, so let us see. So if we divide 10 by 20 in maths, so what would be the answer of this? This would be 0.5, right? And y by x should be 20 by 10, so this should be equal to 2. And this is a modulo, so the function of this is unknown until now, so I'm going to describe it later on. But x by y should be equal to 0.5, but what we are getting here is not actually 0.5, we are actually getting 0 here. So how is this happening and why is this happening? So x by y, it's is not only very different to 0.5, it's not even the round value of 0.5. So 0.5 rounded value should be like 1, but it's not even rounding it. So why is it returning 0? So 0 is actually the quotient of the division of these two. So if we divide 10 by 20, so what would be the quotient here? The quotient would be 0. Okay. So this division operator actually returns the quotient, only the quotient. So it would always be an integer. So even if we multiply a larger number by something that it doesn't divide by, so for example, for 100, what would be the quotient? It would be 2. Okay. So what we can see from here is that this returns the quotient. Now what is the modulo operator? So modulo operator is basically the other part, that is the remainder. Okay. So if we divide 10 by 20, what would the remainder? The remainder would be 10, right? So 10 modulo 20 actually represents what would be the remainder if 10 is divided by 20. So this would give me 10. So as we see here, our output was 10. So this is how this operator works. Now suppose we have to perform a larger operation, something like this. Suppose we have to perform operation like xy upon x plus y. So let us write it. So I'm going to make a variable and name it expression. Okay. So let us see. So I'm going to make a variable, name it expression, and I'm going to write the expression here. So that was x into y divided by x plus y. So what this should give us? Our x was 10, y was 20, and we have x plus y, that is 30. So this is 200 upon 30. So this is basically around 6. So as we know, in Java, we only get the quotient by using divide operator. So this would give me actually 6. So the output should be 6. Now let us see what this actually gives us. So if I print this out, if I print this expression out, we'll see that we don't actually get 6. Okay. So we are actually getting 40. So this is the product. So let me just remove this. Now we'll actually see we get 40. So why we are getting 40? So if we see here in Java, every operator has a certain priority. Okay. So priority means which operator would be operated first. Okay. So division and multiplication have equal priority, but their priority is greater than the priority of addition and subtraction, and the priority of subtraction and addition are equal. Okay. So if for expression that we have written here, that is x into y, let me just analyze it here. So the expression that we wrote was like this, right? So let us evaluate this. So as I explained here, the priority of this one is the priority of division is greater than addition. So that is what happened here. So we have x into y. So what is x into y? So x into y is 10 into 20 is basically 200. So now after this, we would not actually add them, but the division would happen first. So it would divide them. So 200 divided by 10. Okay. So x was 10, right? Yes, x was 10. And then we add y to it. So y was 20. So if we do this, we get 20 plus 20, and that is why we are getting 40, right? So to actually get the output we want, that is 6, what we have to do is we have to use brackets. What this would do, since bracket have highest priority, so brackets would actually execute them individually. So if we do this, we would get our required answer, that is 6. So we should always keep this in mind, that is we are getting 6. So this should always be kept in mind, that is the priority of the operator. So I hope the explanation was pretty clear, and if you like the video, Don't forget to subscribe it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.